Greetings, fellow film fans. Thanks for taking the time to jump on my video. I appreciate it. And today we are taking a look at a good movie, one of my all-time favorites. It is The Time Machine from 1960. That's right. This one was directed by George Pal, and that's noteworthy to me because we've covered several of his films on this channel already. He was mostly known for producing, but he's credited with directing this one. So we've also covered When Worlds Collide, War of the Worlds, and then more recently we did Doc Savage, one of the later movies he did toward the end of his career. But I think it's noteworthy that he produced those, but he directed this one. So I'm interested in taking a look at the film to kind of see his directorial style and how it meshed with those other films. And also just to put this one out there, because like I said, I like this movie a lot. I actually own it on DVD, but I haven't watched it in several years, but it's one of those ones I remember a lot from when I was a kid, and I'm just looking forward to doing it. I've always wanted to cover it, and I guess I just was waiting for the right moment to the mood to strike me, I guess, and today is the day the mood struck me, and we're going to take a look at The Time Machine from 1960. Okay, this stars Rod Taylor and Yvette Nimue. And Rod Taylor, I want to say a couple things real quick about him, is we also covered The Birds. Alfred Hitchcock, The Birds. I got that video. You can take a look at that. And he was the star in that. And he's also the star in this. And he's one of those actors that I always thought, yeah, Rod Taylor, he's cool. I really like that guy. He's been in a lot of good stuff. And really, to my knowledge, the only two things he ever did that stand out is The Birds and this movie, The Time Machine. But that's enough to cement him in my mind as being a really cool star from that era, and just a star I really like, even though really this movie and that one are the only ones I know him from, and I think maybe an episode of The Twilight Zone he did. But he's in this movie, he's really good, and I'm looking forward to taking a look at it right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump in there, I'm going to watch this thing. I got the clipboard of creeps, and today I'm just going to take some notes as I'm watching the movie, just jot down some ideas and thoughts I had. And then I'll get back on the camera and we can discuss it. I'll just give you my thoughts and go from there. I think that would be a fun way to do it today, and that's what we're going to do. So without further ado, let's take a look at The Time Machine. So I'm back now from having watched The Time Machine, and I'm very excited to talk about it. I should start by also mentioning that the film is based on the classic novel by H.G. Wells, so I have my H.G. Wells leather-bound compilation here that's got The Time Machine, The Island of Dr. Moreau, The Invisible Man, and War of the Worlds, and I like this book a lot. Lots of good stuff in there. H.G. Wells was a really good writer, and they made several excellent films, and this is one of them for sure. So what stood out to me about this viewing, this watch of The Time Machine, and to me there were many things. One of the things that I really enjoy is how they filmed the passages of time. So once, his name is George, the main character, same as my name. So once George gets in the machine and starts going forward, there's cues that show the passage of time. It starts slowly, and he's watching the flowers close and open during the day and night, and then he starts to speed up. And one thing they did was they had a mannequin in the street across from him. He's got these windows in his room so he can see outside very well, and the mannequin is changing its attire to show the change of time. That was a pretty clever idea, I thought. But I really liked when he started speeding up even more, and you see the buildings being erected and things of that nature. And he starts out in 1899 and then goes forward into World War I, World War II, and then beyond. And so we get a sense of seeing the war, especially World War II, because there was a Battle of Britain and this is set in England. And so I like the passage of time stuff. That is really compelling to me. One thing that really stood out in my mind was the scene right after that where he stops in 1964 and he sees Philby, the son of his friend Philby, but he's an old man and they had met up in 1917 during World War One, and now he's seeing him in 1964, and World War III has started, and there's nuclear bombs coming, and the older Philby's like, I recognize you, you haven't aged, what's going on? And then the bombs are coming, he's like, oh, we have to run, we have to run. That scene stands out in my mind. I remember that from watching this as a kid, and to watch it today, it stands out very well because that was a very memorable moment to me. The idea that you can go into the future and the future's not good. The future's terrible. And it's funny to me how that sequence, I believe, was set in like 1966 or 64, 64, 65, something like that. And this was made in 1960, so they were at the time saying, okay, in 4 or 5 years, 6 years, the nuclear war is going to happen and destroy the world. And I got to imagine being an audience member at the time watching that and being like, oh, that's a frightening thought. We know it didn't happen, but at the time when this came out, they didn't know that was a possibility. So that's fascinating to me to look at it on that level. The other things I like about this are the design of the time machine. I like the look of it. It's just a neat looking device. I read somewhere that George Pal was a big fan of sleds for some reason. That was like one of his favorite ways of getting around was a sled. So that's the reason why they made the time machine look like a sled in this. And another thing was there's this wheel at the back of the time machine, and once it gets going forward into time, it's spinning clockwise. And he wanted to make it spinning counterclockwise for the times when he goes back in time. But for some reason, the mechanism to do that was too expensive, so they didn't pursue that. Which is funny to me because it's like he only goes back in time at the very end of the movie. So, yeah, if that would have cost more money, it wouldn't have been worth it because it was just one scene at the end that he even goes backward in time. So I thought that was funny to note. Another standout to me is the fight at the end with the Morlocks. So you got the Eloi and the Morlocks, and that's a really cool dynamic for a story. The idea that man is devolved into the idea that those that went underground went savage and became cannibals, and those that are living up on the surface are basically being fattened like cattle. They don't have to work. They don't know what's going on. They just live a lap of luxury until the Morlocks bring them down in and basically use them for food. And I like the scene at the end where he's fighting the Morlocks. It's very exciting. It was well shot. Those Morlocks are cool. I like the eyes. They glow. And when he can get them with a match and they can't see because the idea is they've been living underground so long that bright light scares them. Neat stuff. Good part of the movie. I enjoyed that. Was there anything a little off, a little wonky about it? There was this one thing toward the early part of the film that did stand out in my mind, and it's the part where he brings out a model of the time machine. It's about this big and fit in his hands, and he's trying to impress these guys that he wants them to understand what he's doing. So he's brought them there as like witnesses to this, and we find out that little model can travel through time. And he does a little handle and he does it and it disappears. And the guys don't know what to make of that. They mostly don't believe it. But it struck me as, that is strange. The little model has whatever technology it takes to time travel. So you didn't even just create time travel, you created miniaturization of time travel. And I think that's noteworthy. They don't seem to note that at all, but it never occurred to me until this watching that would be an even more impressive or equally impressive feat, because I gotta imagine it takes fuel or some kind of power source to make this thing work, but he was able to make it work on a little model. So I don't know, just stood out in my mind, something where I thought was worth mentioning. So yeah, that was the film The Time Machine. I like this one a lot. Again, the highlights for me were the changing of the time, the battle with the Morlocks, and also, again, that scene where World War III happens in the 60s. That stands out. Those are good things that make this movie interesting. The overall theme that we can go forward into time and maybe what we see in our future isn't pleasant. That's a thought that I think is worthy of exploring in a good story. And they take that theme here and run with it and make a fun, enjoyable movie from that. So yeah, that is the film this week, The Time Machine. I am curious, have you seen this movie? Are you a fan of this movie? Do you enjoy this movie? And if so, what do you enjoy about it? What don't you enjoy about it? If you're not a fan, let me know what you think, because I would be interested in hearing your thoughts regarding The Time Machine. I personally think it's really great. It's one of George Pal's best movies, and he made quite a few in his career. And I was glad to be able to watch it and cover it today. I think it's good stuff. So thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll be coming at you again with some more videos very soon. And until the next time, have a good one.